All right, here we go. We got the Super Bowl. This is going to be a fun one. We got Kansas City against San Francisco. So let's kind of go through the numbers. Let's talk about last week's games as well. So a couple things here. So San Francisco, at the time that I saw this, was favored by 2 points. It wouldn't surprise me if that goes down. I'm going to take San Francisco in this one here as well. So this is the model is very consistent. It likes San Francisco the whole way through. Um, but as you'll notice, that point spread is quite a bit closer than what the models are predicting. And I think that's because we've just got some interesting matchups here. So you've got a Kansas City Chiefs team that has the absolute best quarterback, uh, perhaps ever, certainly right now, with Patrick Mahomes. However, he doesn't really have a whole lot of receivers to be thrown to, and Travis Kelsey is one guy, and he's not a deep threat. And then you've got on the other side, you've got San Francisco with Brock Purdy, who uh, is, let's just be honest, I think he's good. He gets the job done, but he's not that. He's not going to be a guy that we look back on and say he was a great quarterback. Okay, I think you could easily put in a handful of other quarterbacks who just simply aren't going to lose you the game. They just have great guys to throw to between McCaffrey, George Kittle. You've got Ayuk. You've got Debo Samuel. It just seems to go on and on and on. But then we've had some games this year where, quite frankly, I think Brock Purdy has looked pretty bad in some cases. If he doesn't have that team going, if those guys aren't really working for him, I'm not sure he's really got a lot going on. So then let's come down here. Let's look at first off, let's look at the scores. So when I come up here to the top left, the model has San Francisco winning with a 70% chance. So that translates to about a 6 point spread. You're looking at seeing San Francisco put up about 28 points. So realistically speaking, 28 to 35 points for San Francisco sounds about right. What I would point out is the model is saying about 20 points for Kansas City. So when you look at the last two games, or the last game that each of these played, the model nailed the total number of points that Kansas City Chiefs was supposed to score. If the model had them at 17, that's what they got. And then with the San Francisco Detroit game, the model hit both of those scores pretty much right on. Had the point spread right on, and the scores were off by just a couple of points. So what this tells me is the model has been hitting these teams pretty good. But again, you've got the Patrick Mahomes factor, which is difficult one to bring in. So then when I come over here, I'm not really going to, that doesn't mean much. So that green tells me, if you come down here and you look, that -10 and that 0, that tells me that the model has been hitting these points really good, or hitting these teams really good. So what I look here is I see Kansas City, they have their defense has been good, and this is what was interesting in the last game, is they don't have a strong rush defense. And for some reason, the Baltimore coaches said, hey, we've got a really strong rushing team, so let's not rush it down this really weak rushing defense. Who the heck knows who thought of that? That's just a miscalculation of the highest order. And then when we come over here to San Francisco, you just look and see they're solid all the way around. They've got a solid offense, passing, rushing, their defense, which some people looked at last week and said that they just didn't do well. I'm not really sure that's the case. I really thought they made good adjustments in the second half. And in the first half, Detroit was playing their game. They're playing aggressive. They're making their short passes. Whenever they had a chance to take some deep shots, they did. But in the second half, they pulled it through, and you can't really blame them for that. That's the other thing that I look at it is with the Baltimore. They just came out and they just looked like they were too small for the moment. You had really bad mental errors. You had that play in the touchdown or in the end zone when Flowers had the ball knocked away. You just had bad penalties. That was just bad football the way around. That was a game that Baltimore could have and should have won, and they just came out and made a bunch of mental errors. and look like the moment is too big for him. However, when I looked at Detroit, they played their game. We can knock when, do I think they should have taken some of those field goals? Absolutely, but that's not their game. They played their game. They lost playing their game. And San Francisco took their bloody, got their noses bloodied up in the first half, and then they turned around and they started making plays. They came back. And that's the other thing I would point out. So let's go to the next slide here. Is when I come over here and we look at the performance plays here. So we've got Kansas City is not going to be able to rush the ball the way that they like to. Well, let me phrase that. Their strength is going to be with Patrick Mahomes with the passing. But that's really what it comes down over here with San Francisco really being able to dominate the run on this. That's what we're showing here. And that's not too terribly surprising when you consider Patrick Mahomes, he's going to make passes. The question is, we come over here to the right, is the interceptions over here. Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't have the guys to throw to, so he's having to throw it into tighter spots. And you're seeing that higher rate of interceptions over here. Also expecting to see some more sacks over here. But I would point out over here that San Francisco and their quarterback is taking some sacks too. I think that's one of the things we saw last week with Brock Purdy moving around and getting out and about more. But when you come over here, San Francisco's got a lot more explosiveness, as I think we all see. And one of the things that I've come to the conclusion with is when you have an explosive team, you can come back from those big point deficits. However, when you're going against a team that can control the ball, and that's what Kansas City can do. Kansas City is a ball-controlled team now. They make short passes. They can be explosive, but that's not their calling card. You can see here that they just don't have that same level of explosiveness as what we see over here. They're throwing more interceptions, so they're more prone to turn the ball over. But if they're able to make those first downs, convert the third downs, or even fourth downs, that's where it makes it really hard for a team to come back. And quite frankly, that's what makes, I think, San Francisco so good, is they both are explosive and they can control the ball depending on what situation that they need to be. Kansas City doesn't have that explosiveness anymore. I saw the San Francisco defensive coordinator really knocking his guys. I think that is intended to be a good, swift kick in the butt to say, hey, guys, so if we come over here to the lower left, both of these teams are defensive teams. Both San Francisco and Kansas City, so I kind of did that in reverse. San Francisco's on the right, but both of these teams are well above average performing defenses for sure. With average, letting their opponents average right around 16, 17 points. So that is just phenomenal. The bigger thing I think is going to be is who can control the ball, who can keep their opponent off the board and really frustrate them as well. And quite frankly, I think with all of that's what we see over here with San Francisco, is they have so many ways to get in the end zone. And by the way, the lower left is actual, not projected, but it matches pretty close to what the projections are going to call for here as well, which is San Francisco has a lot of weapons. They should be able to get in the end zone, and their defense is going against, let's just be honest, a less than really threatening Kansas City offense, and so we should be able to see San Francisco win the Super Bowl here. So anyhow, if you like what you listen to, click like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, drop me a note. Thank you.